Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. It's Andy Gillard here. I'm just sat here on my own at the moment because we've already recorded this podcast. It's the second part to last week's preview for the remainder of the year. Last week we went through July to September. This week we're picking up at Halloween and ending in Christmas. So let's get right to it. Yeah, I'll get you. So that is September. October, obviously, horror month, but before we get there, Craven the Hunter. The trailer looks shit. Russell Crowe looks like he's just become a parody of himself at this point. This time he's doing a full-on scenery-chewing Russian accent as opposed to Greek or whatever the fuck he did in the other film. The Sony Spidey villain verse just isn't for me. I like the idea of a Craven film, but without Spider-Man, it feels hollow and worthless. And as I said, the trailer on this does not look very interesting at all. Matt, obviously, it is Marvel adjacent. Is this going to be one of your opt-in or opt-out films, do you think?
It's just where we are in that phase by this point in time now. Like if it ramps up and we're all we're going to build to something excellent, then maybe I will. But if it requires me to watch 20 hours of content, then no, I'll skip this one out. I'll tag somebody else in for this one.
Stu, obviously it's the Sonyverse, so it's Morbius and Venom are its compatriots. Are you interested in this, other than your general love of having to see all of them, regardless of quality?
I don't really know that much about him. I think it's very. So it's amazing. It's clearly not. It's strategy that he's in the Spider-Man 2 game at the same time, in the same month. So it's genius cross-marketing there. No, I'm not. I don't really care, but we know I'm going to watch it. But again, I didn't like Venom 2, did I? So
no, that's true.
I'm going into this with nothing. I expect it to be shit. It probably will be. Move on.
Killers of the Flower Moon is also released this month. This is probably the standout film of the next 6 months for me. Mm-hmm. I love me some Martin Scorsese. Even his less adored films. Today, I even sat down and watched King of Comedy. It's such a good film. Most directors don't even get to do the second-rate Scorsese films. He's that good a director. Killers of the Flower Moon sees Scorsese working with his old muse and his younger muse. So you've got Marty, you've got DiCaprio, you've got De Niro all together back for this film. It's an adaptation of a crime epic novel of the same name about murders on a Native American land after oil was found. Stu, Party Marty, what do you think?
Yeah, 100%. Day one. Biggest, I think super screen off 7 Friday night. Gotta be done.
Matt, are you in the same boat? Is this a day oneer for you?
Yeah, I think most things are really when it comes to Scorsese, and whether it's just benefit of the doubt from an illustrious career of absolute classics, but everything about it that you've even mentioned there is something that you just know you're going to get something quality out of it, aren't you, straight away? So yeah, 100%. Get me in as quickly as you can.
There are very few directors who their name alone has got enough money in the bank to get you there, regardless of what the film is. I mean, they could have told me that it was going to be about a child's toy, and I'd be like, okay, it's Scorsese, so it's going to be great.
Exactly.
He's the man when it comes to that for me. Moving on to the horror side of October, then, Exorcist Believer. All of the sequels have been terrible. Let's be perfectly honest when it comes to The Exorcist. The only reason that I've put this one on the list as a possible, it's directed by David Gordon Green. Obviously, he's made the less than good recent Halloween films, but he did direct a film which is fairly close to our hearts when he made Joe with Nicolas Cage. It kind of makes me think I might give this one a chance, if I'm honest, just purely on the back of the director's name. Matt, are you a fan of The Exorcist? Will you be giving this one any a possible time.
I mean, it can't be any worse than the Pope's Exorcist that came out recently. That looks pretty awful. Yeah, I think I would give it the time. I want to try and debunk some of the rumor and innuendo that goes around. I don't like horror films out and out, so I'm gonna. I will give it a go, but I mean, when again another question. But when was the last reboot that actually wasn't all full of classic horror films? Like, they really don't translate well to a modern audience, I don't think. Like, going from the classic, even when you mentioned Scream, not that long ago, you know, horror is something that I don't think translates well over generations.
Halloween.
No.
Wasn't that pretty much? Well, I mean, I haven't seen it, but wasn't that?
Yeah, they're not
panned. Like, wasn't that pretty poorly reviewed?
I don't think any of them have been well reviewed for since probably Halloween H2O in the 90s. I don't think I didn't hate Halloween, the first one of these three. It wasn't great, but the other two apparently are dirge. I haven't seen them. But
I'll watch the second one. It's not good.
I think half the problem was the invention of the mobile phone. Once mobile phones became quite widely accepted, horror kind of loses something massively. That if you have an issue, you can literally pull out something to save your life out of your pocket. That, I think, has made horror so much more difficult to really have an impact of, shall we say.
That's why you get even like the things like The Quarry and the games like that are based they're based in the 90s where there's no phones, or there's in somewhere where there's no signal because you can't have them around.
Yeah.
Because they would instantly break everything. What about Candyman? I don't think Candyman was good.
Very good, yeah. I really enjoyed Candyman, actually. That's a good shout. The other film, Five Nights at Freddy's. The trailer obviously gives off massive Willy's Wonderland vibes. I don't know the games, if I'm being honest, but this looks like it might be a very fun and weird movie. But the games are predominantly kids' games, if I'm right, but this is going to be a 15. So are they missing a trick not making it a PG or a 12A, do you think, Stu?
They're not kids' games. They're not supposed to be. Right, they're not supposed to be kids' games. Kids play them. But let's just double check. It's one of them things where they all... this happened with when they first came out with Rob, and he was about 10, 11, something like that. Ethan's been playing it since about the same time as well. When you look at it, it's classed as survival horror. Peggy 12, the first game.
Right.
So they're not supposed to be, but kids do play them. It's more jump scares than anything else. But they're predominantly phone games more than anything else. Obviously, they are available on other things as well, but whether you get it on a phone, it's not really... I played the first one, not really my kind of thing, but it'll have an audience. And I think because we did love Willy's Wonderland so much, this is going to get unfairly compared to it because that thing's a masterpiece. Yeah, it's silly. I don't know if I'll watch it. It's not really my thing, but we'll see. I've got no hopes for it, though.
It is Blumhouse, and they've got a good record. We do generally like most of the things they put out. So that gives me a little bit of hope, I suppose. Matt, are you going to be there wearing your Willy's Wonderland, your Five Nights at Freddy's t-shirt with all the toys?
It's not something I've ever played, so I wouldn't know. But I like the sound of it based on what Stu's just said. So where can I find it? Is it a PlayStation exclusive? No doubt.
No, it's on your phone.
Oh, okay.
The Play Store, $2.99.
I might give it a go.
There you go. But yeah, it looks massively Willy's Wonderland, and we all had such a good time with that. I'll be there. I'll give it a chance at the cinema, I think, that one. Finally, Matt, I remember you telling us that you would go and watch all of the Saw films with your mum every year. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
So, Saw 10, is that a standing date for you and your mum?
Sadly not. I don't think. I mean, where can you go with this now? I mean, I haven't watched any of the most. You had Jigsaw, didn't you, recently or fairly recently? I didn't get very far with that. Yeah, I mean, let sleeping dogs lie. Unless something's happened in the series in which it's had like a new lease of life, then it's not going to happen. No, I don't even know like where you go with this. Who is it? A new Jigsaw? What's going on? I don't know. So
Well,
probably
he's
not.
back.
I might watch a trailer of like the latest film and see if I can get any gauge of any kind of interest from it.
No. So Tobin Bell's back, even though he's been dead for nearly 20 years. 2006 is when Jigsaw died, so we're looking at 17 years since his character died. He's back. Shawnee Smith, who was one of his first victims and then disciples, she's back. It's written by the guys who did Jigsaw and Spiral, two of the most boring entries in the whole of the Saw franchise. I'm completely with you. I don't know where this is going to go, and I don't really care. Stu, what about yourself?
I mean, I've got the box set. I don't remember it. I ain't seen Spiral. I don't remember if I've seen Jigsaw. I'm not sure. If it's by the same people who did that, though, but it's been out for so long and I still haven't seen it, and I'd completely forgotten about it until this moment in time. It kind of does make me want to rewatch them all again because I do enjoy them in a kind of weird way. They're not, well, the first one is, but the rest of them, they're not good.
Yeah.
they're in no way good. But it's that kind of weird like horror porn genre that appeared and then disappeared as quickly as it came. It just seems out of time, and he's got nothing else to do, has he? I suppose so. Good for him. He's making a bit of money, but yeah, the amount of stuff that has to be watched and played, and before then, I ain't doing a rewatch of that anytime soon. So this will be next year when I get round to it, to watching it at home.
It does feel like it's going to be one of those that's just going to fall by the wayside, to be perfectly honest. For me, there's just not enough interest in that series. The only reason I watched Spiral is because Chris Rock was in it, and I do quite like Chris Rock. But that was a mess, and it was like all of the other Saws. I figured it out really early doors because the only person who could have been the killer ended up being the killer. So if it's the same guys who did that, then really what's the interest in watching another Saw film when we're almost 20 years since the first one and the only good one in the franchise? So yeah, I'm probably not going to waste my time. Speaking of films that I'm not going to waste my time with, November sees Dune Part 2 coming out.
Yes, you are.
Matt, I think it's fair to say that it was both yourself and I didn't particularly enjoy the first one. How are you feeling about the sequel? Have you changed your mind, or?
I mean, I will go see it, but only because like me and one of the guys from work went to go see it, and we looked at each other midway through, and we're just like, "What the fuck's going on?" Like, it's just an excuse to go for a few beers and go watch a film. Like, I'm not looking forward to it though. So it's just an excuse to get out of the house. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't great, was it? Let's be brutally honest about it. So I will go see it, but I'm not looking forward to it. Like a trip to the dentist, I'll do it, but it's not in my best interest.
I think I said at the time, when the last one's out, I might watch them, but I've no interest in watching them yearly by yearly or whatever it is. The first one just wasn't interesting, and I could feel the audience hating it, but in retrospect, because it's so well reviewed, maybe I just hated it so much that I felt like everyone else was hating it as well. I don't get it, because the reviews were really, really positive, but I thought it was terrible. Stu, I know you enjoyed it, and you'll be there day one, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. It's the amount of people who did watch it, who I spoke to, you two are the only ones who didn't like it. Is that everyone loved it? Everyone? everyone to a T. Every person I spoke to who went to see it in the cinema. And to be fair, when I watched it again, obviously it made a lot more sense the second time round. That shouldn't be the case, really, though, should it? But yeah, I couldn't wait for this to come round. I did really enjoy it, and I bought it day one as soon as it came out on Blu-ray, obviously, and then I'll watch it again. Tempted to watch it for a third time the week before, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it for its weirdness and the fact that it tried to be. It was Star Wars, but then it was influenced by, and that was influenced by Star Wars, and all that kind of the loop, feeding the loop, and all that stuff. Yeah, we talked about it enough at the time, and as long as it's the same as they don't mess with things too much, which I don't think they will, considering the overwhelming success that it came out with. Yeah, looking forward to it.
I just the reason that I said that I might give it another chance is the fact that how good the reviews were makes me think I missed something. Because you are right, pretty much everyone has universally loved this movie, but I was so bored. And like Timothy Chalamet, I generally quite like in stuff, but he was just not charismatic in the slightest. I think I was annoyed that there was no Dave Bautista in it, even though he was quite heavily in the adverts for the movie. But we barely saw him, barely saw Zendaya, we barely saw Kenneth Branagh. It just ended up being a real blah of a film. It was blancmange. Like there was just nothing there, and I don't understand why I hated this film so much when it seems like so many parts of it would be the kind of thing I would love, even down to having Denis Villeneuve as the director. This sounds like it should be my kind of film, and for whatever reason, it just did not work for me on any level.
And the fact that there's a lot of standing around staring at things in silence as well, which you love.
I don't. I like things to happen in films.
You can look at it and think this film is way up its own arse. It's coming out of its mouth, at times, which is ironic with the sandworms. But I like we said at the time, I understand the criticisms and why people wouldn't like it, but they were the reasons that I did. And it seems like a lot of people did for that same reason. So it's one of them weird ones where you just, I mean, like me with like the smear campaign against me with Spider-Verse. I just prefer the first one. The second one is not bad at all. But that seems to be a strange thing that people seem to prefer the newer one than the original. Maybe it's just recency bias, don't know. But it seems like that with Dune.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the Rotten Tomatoes now. 83% and 90% for critics and audiences. So, like, me and Matt are very much in the minority on it, but yeah, do we know, is there going to be any more after this one, or is this going to be the end of the line?
I don't know. I've tried to stay away as much as possible. I mean, the fact that I didn't even know it was two-part when we went in, and they'd put it up as part one at the start.
Yeah, that angered me. That did.
I
was in such a fucking huff when that came at the end.
They tricked us. They tricked us all. And maybe there was a reason for that. Maybe they knew that if they'd said that it was a trilogy, that it wouldn't have got as big as box office as it seemed. I don't know.
Potentially. But I think in the back of my mind, it was very much a case of they'll do the first one, it will be a complete story, but I know there are like 90 fucking 12 books. Like there's just loads of them. So I knew there was always the possibility for more stories in that world, but I expected that to be a complete story. So when it came up, I mean, I was on my feet and walking out before the credits were rolling. I was in a bad mood. At several points, I was like looking around as if to see, is anyone else leaving? Because I think I might have to leave this film. It's so bad. Everyone else did. So, yeah. I don't know. Maybe, like we say, we'll see. Matt, obviously you're seeing and skipping Marvel as and when. The Marvels is the first time we're back in the MCU proper. So that's Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel, and her mate, Monica Rambeau, I think, if I'm correct. Is this a skip or a seer for you?
I mean, anything with Brie Larson is, you know, um, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's so far away. It feels like that. I could have a complete turn of face. You know, I mean, where are we with what's just come out over the last few days?
Secret Invasion.
Yeah, like where are we with that? Is it, you know, Stu, you tell me, Andy, you tell me. Am I going to be intrigued come down the line by the time this comes out? Are things on the horizon that's going to make me go, ooh, it's must watch stuff? I don't know.
It's been pretty badly reviewed from what I've seen, to be honest, Secret Invasion. But I mean, I've got very little interest in it anyway. But Stu, have you? Where are you up with it then? Because you said you'd had to watch some Captain America. Did you revisit any of it or?
I watched Captain Marvel again, and then I ain't gone back to it yet, so I was gonna watch. So they're in a few other things, aren't they? Obviously they're end of Spider-Man, but that's only like a 2-minute thing. So I might just go into it now because I don't think there's anything else that would make. I could go into it now because that's what they said. You need to watch this. So having just watched Captain Marvel again, / first time, I'm well up for this. And I know I enjoyed Miss Marvel more than you did, for the cultural difference way of things. So I'm quite intrigued with it. We know what's going to happen to it because it's women. And,
of course, it'll be
one of them. One of them, yeah. One of them is black. One of them's a Muslim,
and the other's just hated for existing. It seems.
Yeah, so we know that this is going to get review bombed to fuck, regardless of how good it is. So we get prepared for that. But I like these characters. Is it? It's the daughter Rambeau. It's not. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, it is.
The one who was in WandaVision.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the trailer on this looks a lot more fun than most of the other Marvel films that we've seen over the last few years. I've kind of got like low-key hopes that this might be fun. So I think I might give it a try, actually. This is one of the ones I think I might watch rather than like if... Like I feel like I wasted so much time watching Ant-Man and Wakanda Forever that this feels like this might be more back on track to the more fun things of the early years, I'm hoping. But we shall see. The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. In retrospect, I've kind of grown to dislike these revisiting villain in their franchise films. Like we've had it with the Harry Potter ones. We obviously had the prequels with Star Wars, and this one is very much padding out why President Snow became the bad guy in the Hunger Games films. It's just all a little bit too Phantom Menace for me. I really enjoyed the books, the original trilogy of books, but I do own this book, but I never got around to reading it. Probably never will at this point either. Stu, have you seen the Hunger Games? Are you interested in a prequel?
Never seen them, don't care.
Simple as that. Yeah, I've seen the first two and they were decent. For whatever reason, I never watched the last two. But the books are very good. Matt, is this something that you might be interested in, do you think?
I was the same as you. Like, I saw the first couple and they were good. Like, they weren't Battle Royale, but they were good. And I don't know why, I just never saw the rest of them. So if someone out there that, is listening to this has enjoyed them and can vouch for them, yeah, I'd be willing to give it a go. I mean, is it just good timing after Squid Games that like people have got an appetite for this kind of stuff again? But is it not even that world anymore? Is it not about the Hunger Games? I don't know. It's just, yeah, I mean, if it was decent enough, I'd go see it based on the previous source material.
Yeah, I think I need to give the original series just to finish it off. Just watch those last two. But I just remember thinking that like the books are quite graphic. Like,
Hmm.
the actual violence in it is quite gory, the way it's described, and the films don't quite live up to that. So yeah, I think that might be why I never got around to finishing it off. But I do like Jennifer Lawrence, so yeah, maybe I should just pull my finger out and actually get them done. Speaking of Squid Games, Squid Game The Challenge comes to Netflix, the reality series which will see people put through their paces in games inspired by the show. Are we interested in this? Like, Squid Game was a
So,
long time ago at this point now. And this isn't even Squid Game, this is a show inspired by the show. Stu, like, what do you think?
it seems like Sam will watch this. No, don't care. It's we've got Ninja Warrior for this.
Yeah,
We had
yeah.
Takeshi's Castle. This is all this is. No one's gonna die. There's no point. It's it's like that. The floor is lava and the cake ones and all that kind of game show stuff on Netflix. What?
They're fun for an episode, and then that's every episode is exactly the same. Then, isn't
Yeah,
it?
maybe that's a better idea. Have one episode, have a whole series like a anthology series of game shows, of one episode being a different thing. That'd be a good idea.
Mm.
But not this. It's like once you've seen it once, you've seen it all. It's like, but saying that, a new series of Gladiators comes on. I'm going to watch it every week. But that's Gladiators. That's different. This is people never pretended to, never actually going to die in Gladiators. No one's actually going to die in this. So that's the whole point.
Mm. Just defeat the object somewhat, doesn't it? Matt, like, is the time right for this, or is it well and truly past now?
Yeah, I feel like it was just like one of the quickest come and gone phenomena, like in ages. I don't know. I can't see this being even like this series two of this whenever it comes out. I can't see it being anywhere near as popular as it was before. Like I can't remember if it was this that we described as like marked the end of the COVID era of Netflix.
Mm.
Like this was like the last show, the last bastion of this. Like everyone's bored and has got nothing else they can do, so we'll just watch Squid Games instead. Um, like yeah, I certainly won't be going out of my way to watch this show. That's for sure. Anyway.
No, same. Final one for November. Next Goal Wins. It's a remake of the documentary film on the worst international football team and their new manager. It's a Taika Waititi film. His reputation obviously took a bit of a knock after Thor 4. So I think there's a bit of pressure on this film for it to not stink. This one might be one for our other podcast and do a film cast on it, I think, in the future. Matt, Taika Waititi going back to American Samoa and giving us some comedy again. Is this like I'm kind of excited? It should be fun, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. And something outside of the pressure of Marvel, I guess, because there is an element of weight of expectation with anything like this. So to have something that, for all intents and purposes, nobody will be going into it with anything other than kind of curiosity, I guess,
Yeah.
gives him an opportunity to just do something funny, like Free Guy in a way. I always think that about Free Guy. The what's his face? What the
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds film went into that with zero expectation of anything, and it turned out to be like great.
Yeah.
And because there was no pressure on it to be anything, because it wasn't part of like a universe of any description, this hopefully can have that kind of feel to it, where there's no overarching phase bollocks about it, that he's got to, he can just be its own thing and be independently great.
Yeah, that's where I'm sort of feeling with it, and it might just be because it's a similar setting, but I'm kind of hoping it's back to his glory days of what we do in the shadows. Like I want it to be that kind of comedy, and he's backed with Reese Darby, I think his name is. He was also in it as one of the werewolves. So like I just want it to be fun and not silly bollocks like Thor was. So yeah, the pressure's off, and I just hope that he can work, like give us what he's known to do with these films, rather than trying too hard, which I think is what he did with Thor.
Mm-hmm.
That's my hopes anyway. Stu, what are you thinking about this one?
Cool runnings with football. That's all I can hope for, and it seems that way as well. I saw the first half of the trailer before deciding I was in and did my thing. Excited actually. We haven't had a football film for a long time. It seems like at this point. So there's probably a reason for that as well. As on the film cast is over there, we've discussed many times. But I'm again, being a true story helps because it does sell the nonsense of it all. And obviously there'll be things that are changing, then people will moan, but whatever. Cool runnings football. That's all we can hope for.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, I would say watch the documentary on this. It's a really good documentary. It's well worth your time. I think it's only like about 80 something minutes as well, so it's not going to take much time out of your day. December then, so we're approaching the end of the year. First up is Wonka. Timothée Chalamet plays the title character in a prequel to the Gene Wilder film from the 60s, directed by Paul King, who also wrote it with his Paddington 2 co-writer Simon Farnaby. I genuinely don't know what to make of this film at all. I love the original film. It's excellent. I hate the remake. It was dog shit. I quite like Timothée Chalamet, but I don't know if I want this film. Stu, Wonka? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I've been called that before. Yeah, same really. It's been a long time since I watched that film. Having 2 Timothée Chalamet films in 6 months as well. Bit of a bonus. Wait and see. I think this one. At this moment in time, I know I'll never watch it, but I can be convinced otherwise because I do enjoy the original.
It being the Paddington 2 creative team,
that's what I mean.
Does sort of lend it a little bit of weight that probably wouldn't be there otherwise. Matt, are you a fan? I'm sure we've mentioned it before. You're a fan of the original, aren't you? If I remember right.
Yeah, very much so. Like, I really want this to be excellent. I just don't know if it will. Like, weren't the Oompa Loompas like being eaten alive by some monster or something? And he saved them. Somewhere along those lines.
Yeah.
So I'm like in the back of my head, it's like this super dark Schindler's List film. But I know it's not going to be. I just hope. Yeah, I hope it's got a bit like leans into the quirkiness of it, but not in the Johnny Depp paedophile way. I want this to be good. I hope it is, but I don't know. Let's see closer to the time.
At least that's a point with the Oompa Loompas. Do they do it? Can they do it? Or will he be a bit wrong having the little people all oranged up? I honestly have no idea anymore where we stand with these. It's like a different thing every 5 years. Are they okay again? I know we've had Willow, so that's okay. But who knows?
I'm sure there'll be something to criticise anyway. Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget, a sequel to a beloved 23-year-old film. Quite a few of the original cast have been replaced, though, so there's no more Mel Gibson, Julia Sawalha, or Timothy Spall. Now we've got Zachary Levi, Tandiray Newton, and Daniel Mays. Like, I know I say this every time. I really want to see the original, and for whatever reason, I just keep doing it. I think it's literally like every time I sit down, I never think of it. I need someone to remind me, and then I'll do it. And that's literally it. But yeah, so we've got a sequel coming to a film, as I said, beloved by many. Stu, you sounded very excited at the prospect.
Oh yeah, it's excellent. It's the Great Escape with chickens. It's perfect, and I presume it's Aardman again.
It is,
yeah. We haven't had one of them for a long time either. It seems. So yeah, I can't believe that you've never seen it. I mean, some of the stuff that they did later on, yeah, fine, but not Chicken Run. Chicken Run's like it should be like protected, like Paddington 2.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know how I missed it or quite why I've just never got round to it. It's just one of those films, I think. Matt, what about yourself on this one?
I mean, I remember seeing Chicken Run at the cinema, like, God, fucking ages ago. And yeah, it's just not something that, like, I'd go out of my way to see now. I don't have, like, massively fond memories of seeing Chicken Run. So, no, I'll pass on this one. I'll let those that enjoy it have that extra couple of seats space at the cinema without
It
me
is a
taking it.
Netflix film, so it's
Oh, okay.
straight to streaming. So does that change your opinion at all?
No. To be honest, no.
I mean, I do like the Aardman films generally. Like, I do like your Wallace and Gromits, and like the Curse of the Were Rabbit. I thought was wonderful fun. So I do think I would probably enjoy it. But yeah, if I haven't seen the original, I'm probably not going to watch the sequel. If I'm being perfectly honest. But we shall see. We shall see. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, a film with troubled production, which has been delayed and reshot and restructured, and now finally appears to be the death knell of the old DC Comics film world. At this point, I'm probably more intrigued than I am interested in it. I just want to see the end of it, and then we can put it behind us and move on. Matt, Aquaman, giving a shit?
Couldn't care less, mate. No, I like. I didn't when it was first came out, and much less now. And the end of Flash and stuff. Nah, just not for me. I let people that enjoy it, and I won't get in their way.
I felt like his appearance in the end of Flash was. It almost felt like a missed opportunity. Like it was there just for a gag. I'd rather they either not have done it or actually done something meaningful with the post credit stamp that they put on there. With it felt like it was just a bit of a wet farce of a post credit thing, personally. But Stu, Aquaman,
Same as you, really. Intrigue more than excitement. Mainly because of the issues that it's had. That it could and probably should have come out 2 years ago. And yet, here we are with rewrites and reshoots and all the kind of bollocks that's happened, and with certain cast members and blah, 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 blah. When you've got your two of the most troubled people in the entire business in your one franchise, it needs to end. So I think it's a celebration that it's all over now. And then you move on to the next phase. But yeah, it's... In a way, it's nice that it ends like this because I did like the first one, and
it's all right.
I don't mind him. And after what he did in Fast 10 or Fast X, I don't know if you can take it seriously anymore after that performance. Yeah, it's. I was looking at it earlier on when I was reorganising the old Blu-ray shelf, and there's a definite stop of when them films would stop being bought, and that was the Suicide Squad was the last one, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, the first Aquaman film, it got over $1 billion. Like, it's incredible to think that is the high point of the DC universe to date, and the sequel to $1 billion film seems to be an afterthought at this point. It's quite the come down, really, for the character, and sadly for Jason Momoa, I think, on this one. Is even with all the charisma that he's got, I don't think he's going to be pulling this one out of the bag, sadly. But never mind. Whilst we're in that world, the former head of DC Films, Zack Snyder's first film in his Netflix world drops. The first part in his epic space opera, Rebel Moon. The first image I saw of this is a bad guy wearing what is clearly a Nazi-style outfit. I put a tweet out at the time just saying, subtle. Everything that he does seems to be so empty and vacuous. And most of his films are pretty poorly reviewed, with like average to underperforming box offices. Yet somehow audience seem to lap this shit up. I genuinely don't understand it. Like, he seems to appeal to a very specific Ayn Rand reading, Twitter blue paying dickhead. That's his core audience. Like, am I being harsh on Zack Snyder there, Matt, or is that kind of what he is?
I mean, the whole Zack Snyder Justice League phenomena that happens did like I didn't really get it at the time, and then I watched it and I was like, I still don't get it. I mean, who doesn't like a space opera? But don't get me wrong, I'd need to see more of this before I'd make too much of a judgment. I mean, like from the stills and the images that I can see of it now, like yeah, it probably looks like something I'd probably enjoy. But then knowing how convoluted and over the top and how dragged out like the Snyder cut was, that I still didn't, like I said at the time, you put lipstick on a pig, etc. I just know it's just not something that really titillates me. I don't think.
I feel like it's just going to be another June. It's just going to be another 3 hour bore fest. Stu, what are your thoughts?
What was the zombie one called?
Oh, something of the dead. City of the Dead? The one where there was in Vegas, wasn't it?
Yeah. Where it was supposed to have a whole universe and there was a few...
one other film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was... no, Dawn of the Dead was the first one.
Army? Is it
Army of the Dead. And then he produced the other film, which was the Army of Thieves, I think, was the sequel to it in that world. And then we never heard hide nor hair of it again, did we?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of went into that one expecting it to be shit, and it kind of was. But it was enjoyably shit. And this, I mean, the lens flare opportunity, oh dear, it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, but it really will.
At the same time, this is coming out in December. Starfield comes out in September. And am I going to be playing Starfield every day? Yes. Will I be all space burnout by that point? Quite possibly. So even for me, this is going to take something to get me in day one. Especially that this is the problem with things like this on Netflix at this time of year. If it's not Christmas related, it's not being watched at home. So it'll be pushed, and it'll be pushed to January when there's nothing else to do. So unless it's magnificent or amazing, or it's not going to get watched day one, even for me.
Yeah. Finally, the Ghostbusters sequel. Some places have still got it down as like the untitled Ghostbusters Afterlife. Other places are saying it's called Ghostbusters Firehouse, which is a terrible name for the film. Many of the cast from their previous Ghostbusters movies are returning, so the 3 surviving Busters, plus McKenna Grace, Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, and Logan Kim are all back from Afterlife. They're also adding Patton Oswalt, Kumail Nanjiani, and James Acaster to the cast for the new one. Directed by Gil Keenan, who served as a writer on Afterlife. He's got very little in the way of IMDb credits as either a writer or a director. In fact, I think he's only got one other directing credit, which was like an episode of something shit. So it strikes me as a bit of a weird choice in these terms. The reviews of the last one did seem to split people down the middle. And much like Indiana Jones 5, I feel like the further I've got away from the film, I realise it's not that good a film. It relies heavily on nostalgia. That's not to say I didn't enjoy it, but I don't know if it is that good a movie in retrospect. A lot's riding on this sequel, I think. I'll probably be there day one, but I'm more worried about this film than I was with Afterlife personally. Because if you take away the nostalgia, what have you got left? Matt?
I mean, I really enjoyed it in a surprised way, Afterlife. I thought it was a hit. So, but in that same breath, though, like I almost don't want to see any more of it and spoil what I enjoyed of it. I was never that mad into Ghostbusters to begin with, to be honest. But I really enjoyed this. It was like a proper sleeper hit for me. So, I'd almost kind of not want to watch it to not ruin what I enjoyed about a surprise entry from 2021, was it? So
I believe
yeah,
so.
let's hope it's like a continuation of its quality, not just an easy cash in.
Stu, what are your thoughts on this one? Because it feels like it's kind of open to be absolutely anything. It ends with them opening up the firehouse and it being like potentially a worldwide franchise that they're opening out, but it seems like they're going back with a cast from Afterlife. I don't know. What do you think?
Having effectively a first-time director no film with confidence, that's an issue. Yeah, I think with this stuff, with Ghostbusters as well, like no one, it's like a myth. This is because no one used to like Ghostbusters at all. No one actually liked Ghostbusters. They pretended to like Ghostbusters, but no one actually ever talked about Ghostbusters at all until the series came out. And then people talked about the series, not the films. The second film is not that good. And I know when I watched them again in preparation, and I liked the second one more than the first. But they're not actually that good, are they? Really? They're not. They're fun. Of course they are. They're great fun. But out of all the 80s stuff that you remember, like you think Indiana Jones and you think Back to the Future and all that kind of stuff, Ghostbusters was never the top of the pile for me. But Afterlife was brilliant. I loved Afterlife. And that was from a point of view where the nostalgia wasn't that big for me. So saying that, this has got mistake written all over it. I hope I'm wrong. And I hope it's as good as the first one and as good as the unofficial third film, which was the game on PS3, which is, I think, we should have it now anyway, on Plus. But that game was great as well. But yeah, it doesn't fill me with confidence, this one, really. Maybe close to the time when a bit comes out about it other than a few words, but I don't know. Not yet.
Yeah, I've got the early jitters on that one, I think, unfortunately. We shall see. I mean, I'll probably see it regardless anyway, because it is still Ghostbusters, so yeah. Right, so that is 2023. We've all marked our diaries on what we're going to be seeing and what we'll be avoiding this year. If you Matt pointed out last time out, if you've watched any of the films that we recommended, please get in contact. If you've seen Beau is Afraid, tell us how long you got into that film. Because, yeah, I am genuinely intrigued if anyone made it past the reveal of his father, shall we say. Yeah. But yeah, make sure you've got us on the Twitter at Cage Fighting Pod. I mean, I don't know if Twitter will still be alive by the time this podcast goes out. Like, Twitter may be fucked beyond comprehension by this point, who knows? But if it is, cagefightingpod@gmail.com on the emails if you want to get in contact as well. Please make sure you subscribed on whatever podcatcher you're listening to, and a review would be phenomenal. So it just needs to say thank you very much for joining us once again this week, and we truly do appreciate your time. So for this week, Matt, would you like to say goodbye?
Take it easy, everybody. Have a great week ahead, and hope it is wonderful and full of joy.
Stu, do you want to say goodbye?
Just enjoy yourself, everyone. Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me, and remember, be excellent to each other.